Welcome to Career Tools. This week, How to Work When You Can't Work, Part 3. The questions this cast answers are: how do I do my work when I'm suffering from a physical or mental illness? How do I continue to be productive when I'm suffering? And how do I communicate with others when I'm struggling to work?
Chicago, Illinois, October 26th and 27th. Join us for the AM Conference. Accelerate your executive development by learning from executives in the Manager Tools community. Also, you'll be given access to a Slack channel where all attendees, speakers, and the Manager Tool team is chatting with one another as we speak about the issues executives are faced with every day. We only have 15 seats left in the event. Visit our website, manager-tools.com/training to save yourself a seat.
This is the final part, and we're going to talk about how to deal with cognitive impairment and relationships, because they are so important. One of the common symptoms of physical illness, mental illness, a distraction going on at home is cognitive impairment, which is what most normal people call brain fog. It's like a cotton wool feeling in your brain, or the inability to finish the sentence, or the inability to focus on anything other than the pain or what's bothering you. And it can be horribly debilitating, but there's lots of things you can do to make life easier until it lifts. So, for example, use a daily checklist that tells you what to do, even the most basic of tasks. So check email, check voicemail, prep for regular meetings, prep for irregular meetings, and so on. And use it every day, even when you feel well, because this helps you remember to do it when you would normally forget to do it.
Yes.
Mine says check text messages, because otherwise I will forget to do it. And I check it off every day. Creates safety net. So a safety net is anything that stops a mistake altogether, or stops a mistake from having consequences, or fixes mistakes. So, for example, getting the right time zones on meetings is incredibly difficult, I find, especially when you've got brain fog. So a safety net would be create the appointment and write the time zones in a time zone you know in the body of the appointment. And then every day you check the calendar for that day or for the next 5 days, and you look at the body and you look at the times in the calendar and you say, are those the same? And if you miss it a couple of times and your brain says yes when the answer's no,
right,
you'll miss it a couple of times, and then the third day your brain will go, wait a minute, there's something wrong there. Other tactics are have someone else check it before you send the invite, or use the calendar app's capabilities to make sure you book it in the right time zone, depending on how people use their calendars. Or you can, there's a timeanddate.com, there's a time zone planner where you can put in the places of the meeting, and it will give you a 24-hour thing, and it will tell you which ones, use these times. It'll give you green times for the time zones, for the times which are good for meetings, which can be super helpful.
I want to go back to something you said. You said, ask someone else to check it for you. And I can just hear people listening saying, oh, I wouldn't want to do that. They have other things to do. They're very busy and so on. Why deny them the opportunity to help you?
Yes.
I was talking to some friends recently, and I said, one of them had, he's my age, and he'd fallen and hurt his knee, and he didn't think to call me, and he lives 500 meters from me. And it was 11 o'clock at night, but my phone would have rang. I would have gotten up. I said, sure, Brian, I'd go right over. I'd be happy to help him. I mean, he couldn't get up. Now, he's fine now, but he couldn't get up. And he didn't call. He didn't call anybody. He just sort of rolled over and sort of crawled to where he needed to be. I'm like, why? Dude, don't be embarrassed. What were we put on earth to do if not to help one another through? So don't be afraid to ask somebody to check. Now, don't ask somebody else to do your work.
No.
But checking on your work, totally fine. Hey, look, I'm having a rough day today. Could you at least check that for me?
Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you're saying to other people, it's okay for you to ask me for help when you're struggling, or you're having a rough day, or you just you can't make sense of something. If I ask Maggie to do something, to check something for me, Maggie knows next week when she needs something checking, she can ask me.
Yep.
You just make it okay. Use checklists for anything that's repeating because, when Mark gave the example of expenses, you were probably thinking, who knew there were so many steps, because you just do them without thinking.
Yeah.
And on a good day, it's easy. And on a bad day, it's really easy to get distracted between one of the steps and either miss one out or not come back to it at all.
Yeah.
So create a checklist for yourself and follow it for anything that you do more than 3 times. It's a nice, easy rule for anything you have to do more than once. Create a checklist.
Yeah. Keep lists of meeting topics, right? Have a list of topics you want to bring up at any meeting and keep it up to date. David Allen suggests this in Getting Things Done, not just to people with chronic illness. So there's a lot of healthy people doing this. It's normal. And I got to tell you, the next one, notes. Take notes, lots and lots and lots of notes. I have 200-page notebooks that I take to my go-to-meeting notebook, and they're 8 by 10. They're big. They're not small. And I write at times fairly small, and I fill them up and fill them up and fill them up. And when you're chronically ill, you're going to be much more forgetful because you're thinking about yourself a lot more, which you need to do. Notes about what you did that day, about it's okay to put it in a digital system, to have it in your phone, that's fine. If you're marking a task done in a tracking system, don't just mark it done. Write in the notes everything you think of that's pertinent to it. So if you did it well that day, you increase your chances that you're going to do it well again. You might think, well, I may not feel like looking at the notes. You may not need to look at the notes. Writing things down helps you remember things.
Yes.
And I could talk for half an hour about why typing is not the way to take notes. It's handwriting. But I know that so many people are addicted to their phones. It's fine. Put it in your phone and write the notes 3 or 4 times. And pretty soon that'll become second nature.
And in tracking systems that are shared between teams, like you can write more than just done without giving away that you're having to do so. For example, you might write, task complete, 14th of June, confirmation email sent from Matthew to Matthew from customer service email address and read receipt received. Scheduled follow-up on 14th of September on customer service calendar for a call 1 week prior. That just looks like really good documentation. It doesn't look like I will have forgotten this in an hour.
Yeah, but you might very well have forgotten it in an hour if you hadn't taken the time to capture all of it.
And take notes as if someone's going to have to take over from you, because it's possible that they will.
They might. Yep.
Create a substitute binder. So this is an enhanced version of take notes so that someone can take over. So teachers have a binder that's given to a substitute to allow them to continue the class if the teacher is absent. And it has information about the class and the lessons, essential contacts, where to find things, special information about particular children, and so on. And so if you have the kind of illness where you might be off on short notice, a binder like this or documentation on a shared system is really helpful for the people that have to cover for you. And knowing that you've left enough for others to know how to do your job and what to do will give you peace of mind when you're at home, and that helps you get better. The only thing you have to remember is to keep it up to date.
Yeah.
Externalize as much as you can. So get as much out of your head as you can and into a system that will back you up, whether it's an electronic system or a handwritten system. If your brain isn't working properly, you can't rely on it. So, and when you're at 80%, you need to save the energy for what's important, not dumb things like remembering the 18 steps to a process that you do once a month. So checklists, notes, plugging commonly used numbers into your phone, using reminders on your calendar for meeting, using templates for anything that they can be used for. Use as many external supports as you can, because that's what technology is for. Like, why not use it?
Something else. Yeah. Yeah. Postpone things that are difficult, but not as a method of avoidance. On a bad day, you may not want to tackle something particularly difficult with one particular customer. It's easy to justify not doing it, and that would be okay. We could support you on that. But it's also easy to keep putting a task like this off, even when you're only having a marginally bad day. So it's often better to get a difficult task done early when you have more spoons, using the spoon analogy, than to spend energy just worrying about it and dreading it. I can't tell you how many times I procrastinated on something. When I finally did it, I said,
Takes no
I've been
time
carrying
at all.
that around for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Another one that I think is important is confession. If you didn't hear what somebody said or you forgot what somebody said, just apologize. I'm sorry, I didn't get that. I use this guidance all the time. People say, how are you so good with names? And I say, I'm not. I'm not. I'm in the half of the people in the world who are not good with names. They said, well, it seems like you're good with names. I said, no, I'm not. I remember some people's names, other people's I don't. But I'm not afraid to say, I'm so sorry I've forgotten your name. And by the way, when you do that, when you apologize, when you take responsibility rather than trying to weasel your way through the conversation, pretending that you know their name, but you're just not using them, or like me, I call people dude. And then they notice that they used your name and you didn't use their name and you think you fooled them that they didn't notice.
Nobody's
Trust me, that conversation has never happened in humankind history. And it doesn't work. And it's deleterious to your relationships with other people. So when you make a mistake, when you mess something up, when you need some help, it's okay to apologize. And people want to help you. So just say, I'm sorry, I didn't get that right. And believe it or not, when you apologize, you actually feel better. There's science on this. But not apologizing and not doing well, you'll think about that after the fact and you'll feel guilty and shameful. And that's normal. That's part of the human condition. It's not just you. It's not your illness. And so it's okay. So yeah, I'm sorry. You told me that yesterday. I completely forgot. I'm sorry. Where are we? Or I'm sorry, not following this reasoning. Can you go back over that for me? Don't be afraid. And you know, a lot of people want to keep their illnesses hidden and try to be a perfect employee. Nobody cares about that. Okay. Nobody cares. You're trying to be perfect. They're trying to be perfect. Why don't we all step off the stupidity trail? Okay. There are no perfect employees. People already know that you're suffering. They're not stupid. Okay. When you're having a bad day or a bad week, say to them, I'm sorry. It's a bad day. I expected a good day and it's a bad day today. And say to them, I know this makes your work harder and I'm sorry. It's okay to say that. People around you care about you. There are very few people in the world who genuinely don't care about you. And if you will do your best, communicate, do your best to maintain your relationships, people will help you.
And people want
What's
to.
that old saying? One of my favorite phrases, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Use the good times. So you will have good times too. So use them to create the systems and processes that help you through the bad times. So for those of us who have chronic conditions, we know that we'll probably be suffering for them for the rest of our lives. And that said, we have times when our illness is completely debilitating and times when we barely notice it. So use the times when you're having a good time to support you in the bad times. So creating those checklists and safety nets that we talked about. Create a physical or digital black book full of the kind of useful information that you need to know. Clean up and tie off any loose ends that you left last time you were ill. Update the documentation on how to do your job.
Yeah, I would even say this slightly differently. When you have good times, don't think that's supposed to be soaked up by the things you want to do. Because of your chronic illness, you have risk associated with your income source, your job. And sometimes the good times have to be spent on work tasks. It may be a balance of 30-70 or 60-40, depending upon how you've been doing at work and so on. But if you go through a rough patch at work, and of course in your illness, which is causing the rough patch at work, and then suddenly you get 2 good weeks, and you think this is a chance for me to, relax, and maybe I can take a short car trip, and maybe I can go to the mall, and I do all this other stuff. And then you're back at work and you go to another rough patch. Work doesn't really know necessarily that you had a good patch because you were using all that energy on your personal life. And this is hard, but this is the connection between our work lives and our personal lives. When you have a good patch, you have to spend some of that energy that has been given back to you on repairing, strengthening, maybe getting ahead a little bit in preparation for a time when you'll need it.
Yeah, remember that total effort thing.
Hey, y'all. If you're looking for a privately trained virtual event between now and the end of the year, we'd love to come and support you online. And your team all over the world, whatever locations they may be in, virtually for training. And if you've been listening, you know we're running out of days. So please let us know if you're looking for some training between now and the end of the year. We have a few days left where people could book, and we would love to support you and your team, especially if I know some people are running out of budget between now and the end of the year. So let us know. You can send us an email, contact Maggie at manager-tools.com.
And last one, it comes last, but it's not the last in importance. It's probably the most important one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Building relationships means you have more support when you need it. Even if the only thing that your colleagues give you during a rough patch is more grace, then you can use it. Like, more grace is the nicest thing that they can give you. If you return the favors you owe during good times, you'll be able to ask for more when you need it.
Yeah. If somebody brings you some home cooked food and said, I know you get home, I know you're tired, eat this tonight. And then you're out for 2 days and you bring them back the Tupperware they brought it in all cleaned with a brief thank you note. It doesn't have to be long. Thank you for your kindness. That's all you have to say. People forget this. You don't need a 3-paragraph. You just have to write, Joe, thank you for your kindness, Marla. That's it. Nobody does that. That minimum viable product of a thank you note is still like saffron. It's the most expensive spice or condiment in the world. And then, by the way, you can bring them some fruit. Or if you were feeling good and you made some muffins, give them 2 muffins and say, this is for you. And they will be so thankful because they know that's so much harder for you than it is for them. Yeah. This is the currency of relationships. Yeah.
Pay attention to other people, and buying things on Amazon doesn't take very much effort, but buying people a gift when they're having a hard time, or buying them something in celebration is really easy and goes a really long way. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And we're not suggesting that you announce it to the world, but if you tell a trusted colleague that you have good days and bad days, you might find that they understand more than you think they do, or more than you think they would, because there's more people suffering than we realize and more people hiding it. And one note for managers, don't forget to succession plan and identify your bench, because you could still get promoted. You can still be a manager if your minimum viable project includes managing people. If you're able to do that as part of your minimum, then you can still be a manager, but you still have to remember all those behaviors that are important for a manager.
Yeah. So let me summarize, since I'm a special guest today.
Yes.
Folks, having a chronic illness makes your life harder and makes your job more complex. When you're first ill, it makes everything harder in all parts of your life. Even a diagnosis sometimes doesn't help. It takes so long and it doesn't really help you manage with it. It's nice to know that your enemy has a name, but you ought to be able to get better at managing your limitations and the expectations put upon you over time. And tactics like these are small, but a lot of small things can make a big difference. And sometimes your life is going to shrink down to day-to-day management of it. And you don't need to be thinking big thoughts. You can win a baseball game by hitting a lot of singles. You don't need home runs. One of my favorite baseball players is a guy who almost never hit home runs, but he was fast and he kept hitting singles, and pitchers hated him, and they made mistakes because they hated seeing him on base and stealing second and stealing third. And engage in the things that will make you healthy. And part of what will make you healthy is feeling a sense of accomplishment within your limitations at work. And we hope, and I believe hope is a great thing, perhaps the best of things. We hope that this work, our work for you, gives you hope. And that's it.
Thank you for being here and contributing.
Thank you, Wendy. My pleasure. Take care, all.
That's all for this week. I hope that you never need this cast, but that it's here for you when you do need it. And next week we'll be back with a new topic.